Hi, this is David Oman with HouseAtTheEndOfTheDrive.com. You're listening to KTLK, The Fringe FM.
Live for 3 hours every Saturday night. It's a show that engages the mind, makes you think, and maybe even challenge what you think you know. Hi, I'm Jeremy Scott of Into the Paranormal, where we talk about topics that are anything but mainstream, somewhere between abnormal and paranormal. Bring an open mind and join us for Into the Paranormal, live Saturdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern on the Fringe FM. Hi, Jeremy Scott here from Into the Paranormal, and I'm back live Saturdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Fringe FM.
Who were the real ancient Egyptians? What is it about ancient Egypt that captivates us all? The critically acclaimed series Magical Egypt is back with all new episodes. Let Chance Gardner and company take you on another adventure through Magical Egypt in the new series Magical Egypt 2. Magical Egypt 2 attempts a forensic reconstruction of the science of the ancients through a study of ancient aesthetics. Also, the best researchers and authors in the field like John Anthony West, Graham Hancock, Laird Scranton, Robert Bouval, Lon Duquette, Aaron Cheek, and more join together to explore the topics of the esoteric and the hidden messages of the ancient Egyptians. Just go to magicalegypt.com right now and put in the code word FRINGE and get 10% off any download or order, including the groundbreaking original Magical Egypt series, as well as the new episodes in Magical Egypt 2. Also, check out the great work and the companion series at magicalegypt.com. Click the banner on the Fringe FM or go to magicalegypt.com and use the code word FRINGE and get 10% off your order today while it lasts.
This is Paranormal News. I'm John Jeter. The site of the 1947 UFO crash near Roswell, New Mexico, has changed hands. The ranching property, now owned by Dinwiddie Cattle Company, LLC, has been synonymous with extraterrestrials and government cover-ups for the past 72 years. The Army first said they had recovered a flying disc, but later changed their story to a high-altitude weather balloon, which nobody believes, right? The new owner says they're not sure about whether the property will be opened back up to the public. The previous owners hosted a UFO festival on the property last summer, which was for the first time they had opened up the land in their 66 years of ownership. A space station inside of an asteroid? Well, a study led by University of Vienna astronomer Thomas Meindl explores that possibility. It has not been peer-reviewed, though. He proposes that a solid asteroid, at least a few hundred meters in diameter, rotating 1 to 3 times per minute, would create sufficient subsurface gravity to allow miners to safely hammer out a treasure trove of rare and precious minerals. Putting a base inside an asteroid rather than on the surface would shield miners from deadly radiation. Meindl says seeing this become a reality might take decades. Read these stories and more at ParanormalRadio.com. I'm John Jeter, and this is Paranormal News.
I'm Ryan Gable, and I want to remind you to keep your radio, phone, tablet, or computer tuned to the Fringe FM, and visit the website thefringe.fm to listen to the entire lineup of shows. You can also catch my broadcast, The Secret Teachings, Monday through Friday, beginning at 12 a.m. midnight U.S. Pacific Time, right here on the Fringe FM.
Message is being broadcast by the Department of Defense of the Republic. At 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, multiple unidentified objects were confirmed to have entered Earth's atmosphere.
Discovery Houston, 20 seconds to LOS T-drift.
Copy that. I am cleared orbit.
divine beings. You matter. You count. You come from realms of unimaginable power and light, and you will return to those realms.
The vast stretches of the unknown and the unanswered and the unfinished still far outstrip our collective comprehension.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting from Forest Tower Studios, all the way from the Deep South. Now, here is your host, Joe Root.
Good evening, I'm Joe Roop, and this is Lighting the Void. It is Monday night, and the moon is nice and full here in the natural state. This February the 18th on into the 19th. We are live on KTLK Digital Broadcasting, The Fringe FM. That website is www.thefringe.fm, and our website is lightingthevoid.com. You can follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all of that under Lighting the Void. On Twitter, we use hashtag LTV Radio. Tonight, we're going to talk about navigating the astral realm. We'll get into the methods and stuff, but we're going to talk about navigating, why that's important. To become the navigator of your own astral journey. Some of the barriers and some of the things that we need to discuss, but I need to clear the air first about a couple of things. Real quick, I want to thank you guys so much, especially Barbara. I want to thank you guys, Curtis, for donating. If you want to support the show, you can always donate. There's a donate button on the website. You can shop on Amazon there that supports us, and you can also grab a t-shirt, a cool hat. I got some more pictures I got to put up of people sending in their shirts too, by the way. Really cool. And you can sign up for the newsletter just by putting your name and email in. We send out once every 2 months or so, where I really reveal some of the stuff I've been doing, give away free books, and kind of give you an inside look to the studio, etc., etc. It's really cool. It's totally free. You don't have to worry about it. I want to say thank you to the special person that did not forget about little old me out here in the shack. I got a Valentine's Day card and some dark chocolate from a certain person. I don't want to embarrass them, so I'm not going to say it, but thank you so much for thinking of me on Valentine's Day. I was quite upset that I didn't get nothing for Valentine's Day until the mail came. So thank you so much. I am going to give away tonight some of the references that I've learned about these things too, because I get so many questions about this. It is a frequent topic. We talk about this a lot, but I still get just tons and tons of questions. I even get people asking me if I can talk to them personally on the phone and stuff. And really, I would love to talk to you guys. I really would, but I really don't have the time. Like, I don't just do Lighting the Void. Just real quick, let me tell you. The Fringe FM, or the Fringe Digital Media, just isn't a radio station with radio shows. Behind the scenes, we do a lot of production and stuff. So 90% of the time, I don't get to work on the radio show all day like some of these other hosts do. I'm either producing a podcast, producing a radio show or a live show, or helping somebody with a webinar. And so I don't really have the time to do these things. So I like to address the messages that you send me on the air. And so I don't want you to think I'm avoiding you, or I don't want to talk to you or anything. I just don't have the time to sit and spend 1 or 2 hours with somebody over the phone about a subject. Now, I got to clear the air first before we start talking about navigating the astral realm, about what we're trying to do here to begin with. All right, so this is the truth community. Everybody knows that. But in this community of so-called truthers, there's a lot of stories that have been told of conspiracy, UFOs, and the paranormal. And by the way, tomorrow night we're going to have Sue Walker and Reverend White Otter on for the first time here on Lighting the Void to talk about the Ponte, which is really cool. But in this community, we have a lot of people that tell us stories about conspiracy, UFOs, and the paranormal. But in my opinion, we need to put more focus on our experience. Now, that doesn't mean we're not going to have guests on. We're not going to have people come on and tell their story. In fact, that's another big part of the show. But I like to bring home and punch home the focus of the experience. And you have to understand, too, in every moment every movement, every statement, every message you hear from somebody, whether it's on a radio show or a voice or a video, or every book you read, or every statement that's made that's put into your ears, or everything that's put into your brain, I guess we can say, has an agenda. And I didn't just, this is kind of should be obvious, but it took me till I got like older in my life to realize Hermetic principles. Everything has an agenda. So how do we find out the agenda behind things? And I'm going to segue this into the astral navigating here just real quick, because this is important. Because before we have an out-of-body experience, before we start doing these things, we need to understand these principles, I think. So how do we figure out what the agenda is behind a message? If you think on this, everything you hear, see, if you think about it, everything you read, everything you watch or listen to has an agenda behind it. It's true. It just is. Now, what is the effect of these messages? I'm going to get into the cause and effect of this and see how our brains work, because this is really going to matter. The effect of these messages or statements or beliefs, if you look directly at the effect of what's happening, you will find the cause. And what do I mean by that? So, like I said, before we get into navigating the astral realm, I really want to talk about barriers. That's what we're discussing here. There are barriers that I have discovered that keep us from traversing the astral realm. These are just some things I've discovered. Some of you know this, some of you probably don't. Fear is the number one barrier. Fear controls every single barrier in the astral world, but it also controls all the barriers in your physical world too. So again, we see another Hermetic axiom or principle: as above, so below, as within, so without. Now, I'm not saying don't protect yourself before you start doing these things. Protection is fine. But know that you're protected by love and light and move on from it. Like, until you really know that you're protected, you're not going to be able to move on from these things. You're always going to be in a struggle. And what I mean by the protection is some people do sage, some people do a visualization, they picture white light around them, or they do all these different protection things. But you really got to believe and know that you're protected before you go on, because you're going to let one or two things control your navigation. And this is not like driving a car or walking or anything like that. It's totally different. It's something that you got to learn. It's like riding a horse. You got to get a feel for it. And so I'm just this is why I have such a hard time explaining some of these things, because it's hard to put to words. But so before we navigate, it's important that we know the agenda of the messages that we're being told, and all of these stories and beliefs, etc., things like that. Now, I can honestly say this with all of my heart. If you're being told a story that has an agenda to scare you, or to be angry, or perhaps if you become afraid or nervous or anxious after the message that has been delivered to you, then what you've been told, and take a moment to realize this, what you've been told has an agenda to put you in fear. Think about that for a second. The message that was delivered to you has an agenda to put you in fear. The effect of the message is fear, which in our minds and what we know in the astral realm is a barrier. Now you have become part of the effect. Now, that doesn't always mean fear is a bad thing. Sometimes you need to realize it, but sometimes it's doing something totally different that you need to be aware of. It's also important you understand cause and effect. If you don't know what that is, just look it up. It's the principle of everything. You can look at the cause of your effect or state of being and know what the agenda is behind the message. So when we try to figure out what truth is, and I've been thinking about this a lot, when we're trying to astral travel or figure out what's real, what's not, what's true, what's a lie, the media, etc., it really comes down to the agenda behind the message. Worry, anger, hate, all this stuff, it comes from a fear-based thing. That's it. That's its base. Now, this is really vital, because in these realms you're about to traverse, understanding basic Hermetic principles will help you become a very, very powerful navigator. For example, if I told you, and I've said this before on the show, right now you are closer to death than you were 10 minutes ago. Now, whether you worry about it or not, the cause or agenda of that statement is to put you in the experience of fear so you can experience fear. That's why I'm saying it. That's all that is. And after tonight, I don't know if I'll ever bring this up again, but I've got to drive this home. It's just a barrier. In your physical life, you can deal with it however you want to. You can embrace it. But I'm telling you, when it comes to the astral realm, it is a very big deal. It's going to control how you do everything, how you see everything, what experiences you have, everything. So try to remember that. It is definitely not from what we call love and light. And love and light are just words that we describe these things that we know as good or the highest good, right? Now, I'm not giving you a self-righteous rant. This is basic. You guys have heard my experiences with astral travel. And I've really done a lot more experiments since those first times, and I've really thought a lot about this. We all have fear, but we need to know what they are. Because that's what causes anxiety, right? If you don't know what your fears are, you don't know why you're worrying or why you feel like crap or why you're depressed or why you're angry, then you probably have tons and tons of messages bottled up in there. And not only that you're not aware of, but you don't know the agenda of. Where do they come from? Who's telling you this stuff? Why are they telling you this stuff? Cause and effect. Because these barriers you are going to experience in the astral realm. So the key is to let them go. Let go of the ones that are unnecessary in your physical life so they won't be there in the astral realm. Now, there's a lot of different beliefs about the astral realm. I know this, you know this. There's a lot of different questions about it. Am I dreaming? Is it different? Is dreaming to the next level of awareness? What is this? Are we really out of body? Is it separate from the body? Or are we just going into some realm of travel and consciousness? What is it? It is a safe place. It's not a safe place. On and on and on it goes. The problem, and this is my theory, this is Joe Roop's theory on lighting the void. The problem is in misidentification. The real problem lies is in that you do not know who you really are. If you're being 100% honest with yourself, that you really don't know who you are. This can become an extreme issue when astral traveling, because I feel like if we really knew what we were able to do and who we were, we could do great things that we define as truly magical, only because science hasn't described it. Right now, as we speak, there's neuroscientists cutting apart our brains after we die, trying to figure out what the hell is going on in there. And just today, they have released an article that they found an entirely new form of neural communication. They think that they've identified something that's what's called previously unknown, which is probably just consciousness, and they're not able to identify it, but they're saying that it's a previously unknown form of a neural communication that self-propagates across brain tissue and can leap. Are you ready for this part? It can leap wirelessly from neurons in one section of the brain tissue to another, even if they've been surgically severed. So these scientists, they're cutting apart brain tissue. You know, taking brain tissue. I don't know how they're activating it. Don't want to know. It's probably Frankenstein stuff. But they're figuring out that this stuff is firing from one piece of brain meat to another when they're not even connected. And they're all freaking out about it. They're saying, well, this is going to offer some new insights to how the mind really works. But you and I know what's really going on. We know how antennas work. We know how wireless networks work. We know what that is. You know and I know that there ain't anything in our heads but a nice, big, fat, organic antenna. At least that's what we believe. We don't have any scientific proof, but deep down, we know that. And now they're starting to discover it. Now, I don't want you to take my word for, take my word on the level here and think that I'm speaking ultimate truth. I'm just telling you what's going on based on my experience, right? That's it. But I can tell you a little bit more. These guys are freaking out because they're understanding that neurons might be talking to one another. And they call it a mysterious process because they can't explain it, but it's unrelated to conventionally understood mechanisms. So they study things like big word stuff, synaptic transmission, axonal transport, and gap junction connections. But they didn't know that this stuff's bouncing around wirelessly, right? They already knew there was more to the brain. They just didn't know what it was than all the above big word stuff. Just a quick example, they've always been aware for a long time that the brain exhibits slow waves of neural oscillations whose purpose they still don't understand, but which appear in the cortex and hippocampus when we sleep, and so they hypothesize to play a part in memory consolidation. So everything about the brain, they're hypothesizing. So when it comes to astral travel and all these other things that we're trying to figure out, it's kind of funny that when we go to science, we really don't get any answers unless we go to noetic science. The truth is astral travel is very real. It's also been scientifically proven by noetic scientists, right? But the only thing that gets in the way are our belief systems. No matter how strong the evidence is, it won't be accepted by the scientists, so we just need to throw it out. So don't let any scientist talk to you about your astral travels, because you're going to have more barriers than you're going to be able to deal with, more parameters than you're going to want. There's military documents upon documents about how real this stuff is and about how they've used it, and we'll go into that too. But back to this part about misidentification, not knowing who you really are. My belief is based on that our experience is the truth. There is nothing other than the truth. Words are not good, reliable sources of truth. In fact, words are some things that get so miscommunicated. If you guys don't believe me, how many times have you messaged somebody something in like Facebook chat or whatever chat you've messaged, and somebody took it wrong because you capitalized a letter or something, and they thought you were yelling at them, or they thought that you were getting mad, but that's not really what you meant. So they're taking something you said totally the wrong way, which is so opposite of the truth. You see where I'm going with this? Words, they're just not very reliable when it comes to transferring truth. But your experience is. So what we need to do when we do this astral travel thing, in order to keep it going, in order to navigate it properly, is to empower ourselves of identification, to understand that we're something bigger than what we've been told, and to let curiosity rule everything you do. See how that works for you. And when you get messages from outer sources, like when it comes to aliens, when it comes to spirituality, when it comes to conspiracy, and all of these different things, try to learn discernment by looking at the agenda of the message. Just because somebody's delivering you a message of fear, and I don't want to confuse you, but just because someone's delivering a message and it has fear in it doesn't mean that it's not important, but you shouldn't focus on the fear part of it. That's all that is. It's called discerning the message before you even begin to study what you're doing, which is something we really lack, is discernment. It's obvious if you see what's going on in this community, how it's been torn apart by this Blue Eagle thing because, zealots and whatever got involved. And so that's why I always wanted to talk about other things, because I knew this was going to happen. you guys, if you've listened to the show, we all knew this was going to happen. Now, I talk about astral travel quite a bit, magical stuff and manifestation quite a bit, but not to empower you to get a guy or a girl or a job. I don't have any judgment if that's why you're doing it. And money. If that's why you're doing it, that's fine. I mean, you need that stuff in your life. But I feel that in these explorations, the big pictures can't get answered until we figure out the big questions. Who we are, why we are here, and the only place we're really going to know that. It's not, I really don't believe this, guys. I'm going to read books. I'm going to watch videos and stuff, but I really think that the astral realm and then consciousness exploration is the key to understanding these things. It's like astral travel, in my opinion, is truly about learning to let your higher self guide you to the next level. If there's a guide or a higher self, that's where it is. So for all of you that are listening that don't understand the reality behind this, you need to get past that because this is real. I hope you're past that by now. I hope you're past the part of not seeing it for what it is, like not believing in it and thinking it's something stupid or it's just in our head, because there's too much evidence to show that it's real. The astral body appears in all of our different cultures throughout time and throughout the world. In Egypt, it's the Ka. It was the soul of man, or it was not the soul of man, but it's the vehicle, right? In the Quran, Muhammad's astral body travels in Isra and Miraj, and that story. It's also in the Hindu scriptures, the Taoist practice. It's even in Christianity. Even Wikipedia says it's a term used in esotericism to describe a willful out-of-body experience that assumes the existence of a soul or consciousness called an astral body that is separate from the physical body and capable of traveling outside it throughout the universe. Now, I think this time Wikipedia might have got something right. Of course, they might be a little bit wrong. So if you're a skeptic of this, the reality of such things is no longer a myth. It's not a pseudoscience. It's scientifically confirmed. And like I said before, a great place to start your research if you're interested in confirming this scientifically is the Institute of Noetic Sciences. You can also get into Dean Radin's material and many others. But still today, it's kind of redundant saying it now, but most scientists reject the possibility of all this without even looking at the data. The real thing that gets in our way when we come to Traverse and when we come back from the break is we're going to really talk about traveling. The real thing that gets in our way is our beliefs. Our human belief systems. No matter how strong the evidence is, it won't be accepted by the scientific community because they can't explain it. But our experience tells us something different. And I want to talk about some of these military documents and all this other stuff too as well. But we do have to take a break. I'm Joe Roop. This is Lighting the Void. We'll be right back. We're going to talk about navigating the astral realm, some of the stuff you're going to see, possibly, what you can do instead of just being a victim to all of it. Become the navigator. We'll be right back.
Portion of the show is being brought to you by Uncle Musty's Week-Old Bread. Why wait 3 or 4 days for your bread to get moldy when Uncle Musty already has done your waiting for you? And remember, Uncle Musty's Week-Old Bread contains no harmful preservatives because it's too late anyway. Remember, you'll always feel safe with Uncle Musty's Week-Old Bread because you know it can't get any worse than it already is.
Hey folks, guess what the number one phrase that Life Change Tea receives by email? You ready? We love this tea. We love this tea. Time after time, week after week, we love this tea. Life Change Tea gives you more energy, A beautiful cleansing, and fulfills its slogan perfectly. The tea that makes you go. So if you want to be on your health game, log on to getthetea.com and order Life Change Super Strength Tea. Packages come in a 1-month supply, and when you brew this stuff, wait until you see the results. Aren't we all about the results? And with a lot of people's health struggling, we can use a little bit of help. Doctors will tell you disease starts in the gut. So log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Be our next email saying, I love this tea. I love this tea. Get the tea at getthetea.com. Helping America one tea bag at a time.
Is there something eating at your soul? Stay tuned.
When you're always on the go, it can be a hassle getting the proper servings of veggies and fruits into your everyday diet. Life gets hectic, making it hard for us to always make healthy food choices. Not to mention it's pretty expensive. Wouldn't it be great to ditch the long grocery store lines, but still get your fruits and veggies all at once? What you need is Balance of Nature Fruits and Veggies capsules, made with 31 of the highest quality fruits and vegetables and grown right here in the USA. Balance of Nature is 100% natural, safe, and affordable. For a limited time, use discount code TALK and you'll get 35% off your first preferred set of Balance of Nature Fruit and Veggie capsules, along with free shipping. Call 1-800-246-8751 today. Ready for the real results you want and need? Then you need Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751. That's 1-800-246-8751 and use code TALK.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
We told you weeknights on the Fringe FM are now even better. And we mean it.
Do it live!
Where else can you hear the best shows and the best talent? Kick off your evening with our newest host, Alex Exum, live at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 Eastern. Hang out with me, Joe Roop, on Lighting the Void at 9 Pacific, midnight Eastern. Ryan Gable expands your mind on the secret teachings at midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern. We're bringing the heat every single night. Fire it up, the Fringe FM.
This is Radio Moscow. Just kidding.
All right, welcome back to Lighting the Void. I'm your host, Joe Roop. If you want to call in and tell us about your astral travel experiences or something you've learned, we're all ears. You can call in at 1-800-588-0335. That is the call-in number, toll-free from the United States or Canada. Callers get dibs. You can also text in the show at 501-777-5631. Don't forget, after the program, Ryan Gable from The Secret Teachings will be on. And tonight's discussion is navigating the astral realm. So, most of the messages that I get and the questions I get are about launching, right? Getting out of body. And which is cool, and we've talked about that till the cows come home, actually, but I think it's kind of more important to talk about navigation, because once we get to that point, if you don't know what's going to happen, then you're just going to, it's going to be fun. I mean, don't get me wrong, you'll be glad that you did it, but then you're also going to be on edge because you're going to want to keep going. And then you're going to do exactly what happened to me, is you're going to get frustrated because you don't know why you have all these blocks and what's keeping you from doing it. And so number one thing is practice. So let me just cover this real quick, okay? Just so we can get this out of the way, and then you guys can look this up for yourselves. All right. Now, the first thing that you got to do, and when I talk about the out-of-body experience as far as launching out of body, the first thing, I talk about doing it from the sleep state. There are other people that do it for meditation, but here's the thing. I've never had the experience that I'm about to talk about through meditation. Okay? And again, the call-in number is 1-800-588-0335. But I've never had that. I've had it from the sleep state. So, you've got to learn how to relax, number one. And the whole idea is to get yourself, and this is going to scare some of you, to that form of sleep paralysis where your body's asleep but your mind is still aware, and then you can move on from there. So if you can't relax and you can't figure out how to stay awake as your body's doing that, then you're going to have some issues, right? But there's tricks you can do. You can wake yourself up at, say you go to bed at 9 o'clock or whatever. You can set your alarm for 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. or whatever, and you can not call in. Someone's trying to figure out the call-in number. You can do that, and then your body is perfectly relaxed, so it's easy for your body to go back to sleep while you're awake, right? So you can do that. There's plenty of tricks to do, and I'll give you some references, and you guys should go check out these references, all right? So the first reference I'm going to give you is William Buhlman. There's a book on Audible, and you can go to audible.com or audibletrial.com/LTV radio and get it free. It's called How to Have an Out-of-Body Experience. This is my favorite one because it works all the time. You can get Journeys Out of the Body, all 3 books by Robert Monroe that takes you on this journey. And then there's Thomas Campbell's My Big Toe or My Big Theory of Everything, which is another 3 books. Now, all of these are on Audible and in book form. There's tons of books and tons of videos on this stuff, guys, but this is what works for me. Okay? We can do shows later about the launching experience. In fact, I promise I've got a text in from Travis about the sleep paralysis state and how I guess it's kind of horrifying for some people, and we'll talk about that. But what I really want to do is kind of like, once you get launched and you don't know what to do, what are you going to do, right? So we got to talk about this stuff. And I just got through talking about fear, okay? And the reason why I say that is because I do want to give you just a little bit of fear here, but for a good reason. Not to scare you, but to empower you, okay? It has come to my attention that it's probably a cold, hard fact now that the military has been tampering with this since at least the 70s. So if they've been tampering with this since at least the 70s, then we have to think that they can do this stuff, that they have people that can do this stuff and do it very well. And if the military-industrial complex can do these things very well and they can get in the astral realm, that also means that they can get inside your cranium too, because in this realm, we are all connected. All of us. So I've had this described to me as when you first hear about it, you're going to hear a lot of things that are going to scare you. I've had magicians describe it to me as the astral realm is nothing but the lunar realm, and it's nothing but a hall of mirrors. In other words, a place of definite confusion because your consciousness is kind of trapped here. And in order to break through those barriers, you think that you're going to have to learn this stuff. It's kind of like a dream within a dream within a dream, but I don't want to get too deep on that. But like I said before, it's all about, in my opinion, about learning to let your higher self guide you to the next level. So let's talk about the fundamentals. And this is the fundamentals I learned from Thomas Campbell as far as traveling goes. And it's really starting to work for me here lately. And I've got all this stuff journaled, and I've got all this stuff I'm going to release to you guys. It's a big surprise, right? So I've been kind of holding back on that. But anyways, curiosity is the most important thing. Fear is the one thing that's going to keep you back. And there are going to be things that will do everything in their power to freak you the hell out. So whatever these entities or beings or parts of yourself, they already know what scares the hell out of you. They already know that. They already know these things. They know what, just kind of like what turns on our attraction triggers. There's also things that turn on your fear triggers. They already know these things. For instance, in my case, I had an entity put me in sleep paralysis, and I really thought it was just me doing this, and put me in a false awakening to where I kept waking up inside of a dream, thinking I was awake, and woke up again and looked at my phone and thought I was awake, but I really wasn't, and then woke up again and looked at my phone and thought I was awake. And by the time I actually woke up to this certain level of consciousness, the being that was doing these things to me was standing over me and was waiting for me to wake up, so that when I did wake up, its face would be 4 inches from my face, right? Now, this is very hard to get past because, number one, I've probably had these things on me since I began to understand what fear really is. And it took me a very long time to break that, and I haven't talked about it since, but I will. Eventually, and this is the first time I'm telling you guys about this, eventually I learned to laugh at it, which was very, very hard. Eventually I learned to become curious about what that thing really was, and to really believe that I was protected. More like really know that I was protected. So a lot of the times when you guys see me giving you books and talking about things like Psychic Self-Defense by Dion Fortune and other things like that, it's not because I'm trying to teach you something. It's because I'm going through that now, right now. But one thing that I have really thought about is, if the military has been doing this since the 70s, what are they doing with it now? And this is something Ryan Gable brought to my attention. Because symbols and all of this stuff, symbols, ritual, all of these things are very powerful in the physical realm, no doubt. They are. But in the astral realm, they're everything. They're everything in the astral realm. For example, if you open a magical book and they teach you to do the lesser banishing ritual of a pentagram, right? Or they teach you to do the Kabbalistic cross. They'll teach you a ritual where you pretty much invoke the name of God and say, "For I am the kingdom, power, and glory forever. Amen." Right? And you make a cross. They teach you that. But what it's doing is making a statement to the astral realm. Another thing that it's doing is it's kind of lighting you up in the astral realm because you're using the powers of visualization. Here's the cool thing. If you manage to get out of body and you manage to move past the stage of launch, if you do these things, if you draw a pentagram or you draw a cross or something like that, guess what? It actually shows up in the astral realm. Now, this is something that I thought was like too crazy to believe until I tried it. Why did I try it? Because I wasn't afraid to. In fact, if you go to a real Western esoteric mystery school, such as a Rosicrucian school or the Golden Dawn or anything like that, and you go through the whole blindfolding ceremony and all of their stuff that tends to scare the hell out of people, because ritual scares the hell out of people for some reason, even though they're doing ritual every day, all day. Ritual runs their life and programs their world. Instead of empowering themselves and understanding the power of it, they become afraid of it, but that's another rant for another day. When you do the ritual, the first thing that you learn is when you and this, this isn't me breaking an oath or anything like that, because you can read it. It's online. When you pull up your blindfold and you head over to the banner of the West, there's a man standing there that represents fear, and his whole message is to tell you that fear is the barrier, and it's a fetter that binds. It is the enemy of your consciousness. Isn't that funny? All of the stuff we want to learn to do, astral travel and all these things, yet in our real lives, we are getting daily messages of politics, Russia, all of this other crap that's going on, the military, secret governments, cabals, all of that stuff that you like to be afraid of. Day in, day out, day in. That's what you're being programmed with. It doesn't mean it's not real. I'm sure there's little secret groups inside the government. In fact, we talked about the Council for National Policy and other places like that. How much power? I mean, it's one thing to give them power in the physical realm, but are you really going to give them that kind of power in your consciousness in the astral realm? It's not a good idea, because that will affect you in the astral realm. Now, I'm not trying to preach, but I think if you guys really get the idea that this is, so you got to have like the heart of a child in this place. It's okay to navigate and play, but you also need to be aware of what's going on. The things that pop out and try to scare you and do all these other stuff, all these other things, they're just trying to create barriers. You know, I remember when Thomas Campbell came on the show, he gave an example of, say, for instance, if you came out of your body and you went into the yard and say you made it past something that was trying to push you back in your body or whatever, and you went to your yard and there was a pink bunny standing there. Well, your mind would tell you that that doesn't make sense. Don't mess with the pink bunny, move on, or it could be an entity tricking you or whatever. But the truth is that pink bunny, as crazy as it sounds, I know this is going to sound like some super Philip K. Dick type stuff, but that pink bunny could be a portal to another place. What the magicians did, what the Rosicrucians have learned, and high-level Masons, I don't even know, I would say Masons, but what the Rosicrucians learned and what some of these magicians learned is there was ways to test these things in the astral realm. Now, this is where I'm going to get into the magical languages of like the Hebrew language and stuff. So there's a book called Liber 777, which a lot of people think Aleister Crowley wrote it, but he didn't really. Samuel McGregor Mathers wrote it. Aleister Crowley kind of ripped it off. Now, this book is a book of correspondences. It's called Liber 777, right? So, this book has correspondences. It has everything. So, when you look at the Hebrew, and I hate talking about this stuff on the radio because you got no reference, but when you look at the Hebrew alphabet, you can see all of the things it corresponds to. The gematria, the numbers, the planets, everything it corresponds to. So you learn the powers behind symbols. So therefore, when you travel in the astral realm, you could walk up to, let's say, the pink bunny and maybe draw a certain Hebrew letter, which I don't have time to teach all this stuff, what every letter means. Maybe we'll do that some other night. But you could draw a certain letter or symbol to test that bunny to see what it is. Now, I can tell you one that I know for a fact that Rosicrucians used that's also written down. And it's LVX, which is LVX is simply the sign of Osiris and Apophis, right? LVX, it's Osiris, Virgo, and Osiris. Yeah, LVX, I'm getting them backwards. But you can pretty much do, like with your arms, LVX, which it just means light in extension, right? Isn't that crazy? That doesn't even sound right. Wait till you do it, though. Try it out. Now, normally I wouldn't talk about this stuff, but there's so much crap going on in the astral realm that I think it's important that we do this. So if you let's just say supposedly, I'll let you try it out. If you go up to an entity and you put up the signs LVX, which means, Nox on pact in Greek, which also means light in extension, LVX, light in extension, right? If that entity or whatever that thing is cannot do that back, supposedly it's not real. It's a trickster. Now, what other texts talk about this? There's other biblical texts, other scriptural texts that talk about testing the spirit. So this isn't really the only way you can test these things. So once we move past our fear and we come in contact with an entity into the astral realm, we have the power, believe it or not to sit there and wonder, but to actually test these things. And it's kind of funny if you look at the Hebrew letters, and the LVX is something besides the Hebrew letters, but if you look at the actual Hebrew letters, the ancient form is totally different than the new form. In fact, if you read the Talmud and the Babylonian Talmud, you'll see that these letters are pretty close to the Babylonian and Sumerian flame letters, right? So these letters are magical symbols that have gone back for a very, very long time. And then they've pushed all of this stuff down into every different language and all these different languages, and now we got English, right? Which hopefully you'll look at the story, or the Tower of Babel story, as a whole new thing. Not really think it's a tower to heaven and God cast everybody down, but more as a metaphor that whatever's in power made us speak all these different languages, so we no longer understood magical language and symbolism, because it was the key to heaven, the keys to unlocking the doors to consciousness. And where does that key lie? Come on, folks, you know this one. I know you know. The keys to the kingdom of heaven is inside you, right? So you go there, and then you start learning about this stuff. Nothing in the astral realm can hurt you. We've been told that too. Now, this one I kind of go back and forth with, because I don't have an experience with this. I've had things scare me, but I'm still alive. But that doesn't mean that people don't get pulled out of their body. How many people, for instance, I don't want to take this down a fear road, but it's something that we should think about. How many people pass away in their sleep, and we really don't know what happened? We don't know why. They just natural causes, they passed away in their sleep. Oh, no big deal. Well, didn't someone tell us a long time ago that we always astral travel all the time whenever we go to sleep at night? That's what we're doing. And so these people are passing away in their sleep. So imagine that. So you're out of your body. Maybe you're in dream world. Maybe you're not. And your body dies. And you're not going to know the difference, which also could explain a lot of paranormal activity. In fact, if you go back to the reference that I talked about with Robert Monroe, it does explain a lot of paranormal activity. There's a lot of people that get stuck here, either because they don't know where they're going, which is something else you're going to run into in the astral realm if you get deep enough. They don't know where they are, they know who they are, but they don't know where they are. They don't even know that they're dead sometimes. That's a scary thought, right? What if that happened to you? They don't even know that they've passed away. So what do you do when you run into somebody that doesn't know they've passed away? Well, a lot of the times when you run into these people, they're going to be scared. They're going to be angry. You might even run into children that are crying. I would say this, remember, as soon as that old heart of yours speeds up and you want to give into fear, that could just be another soul that needs your help. And if you don't approach that soul with love and helpful and light, then you're just going to make things worse for you, and you're going to make things worse for that soul that you run into. So what am I saying? I'm saying that playing around in the astral realm might not be a good idea, which is something else I've learned, until you're prepared for some of the things that you might run into, such as lost souls. Sounds crazy, right? But if you look at noetic sciences and you go to the Monroe Institute, we played them on here they have audio clips of this, of people that ran into these lost souls, people that were trapped. Not trapped because, God trapped them or Satan trapped them or anything like that. Trapped because all of the crap they were taking in when they were alive, their beliefs, fear messages, religious messages, all of these beliefs trap them in the astral realm. So nothing makes sense to them there. But the ones that go into the astral realm, like William Buellman and Thomas Campbell and others that have an open mind, they're open to everything, they tend not to get trapped. That ought to tell you something right there. I feel like I'm going to go on a rant. I don't want to do that. By the way, again, oh, shoot, I missed somebody's call. Anyways, if you want to call in, it's 1-800-588-0335. Tell me some of your experiences with this, okay? Like, even if you had sleep paralysis, we can go through that. I don't mind going through that if you call in, but it's a horrifying experience. But here's some of the things that you need to do before you travel. Set the intention of what you're going to do. Try to, at least. Here's something else important that I learned. Go to the bathroom. I know that sounds stupid, but if you don't, man, and you get in the astral realm and you got to take a leak, I got to take a leak, right? If something happens, you're going to go back to your body. Every little stupid thing will pull you back to your body. Pain, hunger, having to go to the bathroom, being very uncomfortable, a crazy thought, worry, any of this stuff will pull you right back to your body. So you need to be relaxed, comfortable, full, not starving. Also, make sure you go to the restroom, because you're going to be dealing with visuals, tricksters. You're going to be worried about, you're going to have doubt, number one. Your emotions are going to be heightened. So if you do have emotions, which is something else that really, God, it really freaked me out. So we've all been scared in the physical realm. Like if something spooks us, we get spooked, we calm down, like, okay, man, I'm going to breathe. I'm going to calm down. Everything's cool. Nah. In the astral realm, if you get spooked, it heightens the experience. So everything you do is kind of going to be heightened a little bit. At least for me, it is. So be careful of what you do. Be careful what you become afraid of. Also, I don't know if I should talk about this now because it's kind of a big subject. I think I might. I want to talk about this, which is something we got to, which is the sexual energies and the sexual barriers that you're going to run into. And I'm not going to pass judgment. I'm just going to tell you what's there. And then I can maybe talk to you about how we get past it. Right? Yeah, I think I'll wait till after the break. We're at the top of the hour here. This is Lighting the Void. I'm Joe Roop. Don't forget that after the show, we still have live broadcasting with Ryan Gable, and the Secret Teachings is coming up next. Also, tomorrow night, we're going to have the Quantum Hologram Matrix with the Reverend John Polk. Then more Lighting the Void. Stay with us.
Portion of the show is being brought to you by, formerly, Mr. Coffee, the world's first transsexual automatic coffee maker.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
Magic, the occult, history, health, news. These are just a few subjects discussed on my radio broadcast, The Secret Teachings. I offer unique and objective perspectives on new and old subjects alike, while welcoming guests and presenting my own research with no filter. Visit my website for more information and to subscribe to my archive at www.thesecretteachings.info, and find me on The Fringe FM live Monday through Friday, midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern on The Fringe FM.
Introducing Shadow Light Tarot from Waking Canvas, the Fringe FM's new contributing artist, Eric Tesey. This hand-illustrated black and white self-published deck serves as a reinvention of the tarot, never before witnessed. Each of the several suits of this 88-card deck lineup form an infinite panoramic scene. Even the included visual companion guidebook is entirely hand-illustrated, cover to cover, with beautiful visuals and esoteric symbols and artwork. The newly released deck comes in a custom magnetic box with its own travel pouch. The Shadow Light Tarot Premium Deck and its travel-sized mini deck Wonder Light Tarot are both available now from WakingCanvas.com. If you use the code word FRINGE, that's F-R-I-N-G-E at checkout, you'll receive an extra 10% off your entire order. To discover more, including a free reading and time lapses of all the illustrated artwork, make your way over to WakingCanvas.com today. That's WakingCanvas.com. We told you weeknights on the Fringe FM are now even better. And we mean it.
Do it live!
Where else can you hear the best shows and the best talent? Kick off your evening with our newest host, Alex Exum, live at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 Eastern. Hang out with me, Joe Roop, on Lighting the Void at 9 Pacific, midnight Eastern. Ryan Gable expands your mind on the secret teachings at midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern. We're bringing the heat every single night. Fire it up, the Fringe FM.
Do you want to lose weight but have no idea where to begin? The Fast Start Diet, a 3-day weight loss plan, is the answer. 3 days of nutritionally balanced, calorie-restricted meals delivered right to your door. No shopping, no measuring, and no cooking. Everything is prepared for you and ready to eat at home or on the go. The Fast Start Diet has all the amazing benefits of intermittent fasting without starving. We've helped thousands of people who have struggled to reach their weight loss goals. Isn't it time we helped you? With the Fast Start Diet, you'll lose weight and feel great.
Find us on Amazon or go to faststartdiet.com and use promo code POWERSAVE to get 10% off your first box. And as a special bonus, we will include our #1 rated appetite suppressant spray free with your order. Whatever your diet plans are, start with us at faststartdiet.com. and use promo code POWERSAVE.
You're listening to Lighting the Void. The call-in number is 1-800-588-0335. If you would like to text, you can text in at 501-777-5631.
All right, welcome back to Lighting the Void. Don't forget, yes, the call-in number is 1-800-588-0335. Look, I'm just experiencing this stuff for myself for the first time, too, and telling you what I've learned from it. So if you can contribute, please do so. And speaking of which, Kat has called in. Welcome to the show, Kat. Thank you so much for calling in.
You're welcome, Joe.
So what...
So I'd like to...
Have I said... am I making sense at all? By the way, about some of the stuff I'm saying.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I've always understood what you talked and share about astral experiences. You're right on a lot of it, what you're saying.
That's good, because I feel like, I don't want to tell everybody, like, this is the way it is, just because this is an experience I have. So I like to bring up, some of the people that have been on the program that kind of talk about these things, like William Buellman and Thomas Campbell and stuff, to relate to the experiences I've had. I get a ton of messages, Kat, about sleep paralysis and all of that stuff, and I really wish I could help people more on that, and I'm going to try, but not tonight. Tonight I want to talk about traversing the astral realm. So what has your experience been with it? Can you tell us about a pretty cool experience you had with it?
Yeah, before I do, I'll just share those 2 quick astrological things that are happening tomorrow. I like to do that for your show because not everybody keeps up with what's
The
going on.
Astrological Report by Catalina. There you go.
Okay, two things. Tomorrow, it's a full moon, but it's also a supermoon. We seem to get a lot of these supermoons. But this one, it's supposed to have it during the day. Now, I did look today, and I did see the moon out in the day, which is always strange when you see the moon in the day, right? Because you think, how can you see it? Shouldn't it be dark? But anyways, I could see it. So tomorrow is supposed to hit, I think it was 9:53 Pacific time. I'll have to check again. So we'll definitely go out and see it. And then, you'll see it all day, but that's supposed to be like one of its most intensities. And supposedly this moon is supposed to be 14 times bigger, and it hasn't been that big since 1948. So some guy went down the rabbit hole about all these things that had happened in 1948. I mean, big things, earthquakes and high tides and all this stuff. So it'll be interesting. And then also the dog star Sirius, which is the brightest star in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
It supposedly is this thing they call a cult, which that is so weird to use that word for it's an asteroid supposed to occult it, which means hide it.
Right.
Isn't that bizarre?
Well, the word occult means hidden, so, yeah.
Yeah, so hidden. So it's supposed to hide the brightest star. That's really weird. So, I don't know. I guess you would have to be out. You'd have to stay up at night to look, but I don't know when that's supposed to happen. Anyways, those are the two things.
Well, you know what?
I'm going to share.
Real quick, though, we might actually be on this show tomorrow night with Sue Walker when that stuff is happening. So if you can do me a favor, no matter when it happens, even if it's during John's show or whatever, let's all keep up with this. And then, Kat, you can email me or message me or something. We'll just start spreading it around.
Yeah, because and then everybody can share if something unusual happened to them while it was going on, because supposedly this moon hasn't been around since 1948, and when it did, major things happened. So it'll be interesting to see what's going to happen. I don't like to be superstitious, but I really don't like to do too many things when something like that is going on. Do you?
Well,
don't drive a lot, don't do business stuff, don't do stuff like that. You know what I mean?
So I'll give away a little secret here, okay? You know how sometimes we've talked about planetary magic and stuff like that, how people use the planets and the moon to do magic, right? Well,
right. Oh, yeah.
Here's the thing. The only time that people don't do magic with the moon, and when you're told not to do magic with the moon, is when it is in a void of course moon. Do you know what that is?
No.
It's kind of hard to explain, but it's just void. In other words, it's not really doing anything. So if you pull up any type of astrological moon type app or something, it'll tell you when the moon is called void of course, which means you don't really do anything. You don't do any ritual, prayer, anything magical. But on the other hand, if this moon is as rare as you say it is, which I believe you, it might be a good idea to just kind of look around and see what's going to happen, I
thought of maybe doing a shamanic journey. I like to do journeys when there's extra power, because the shamanic journeys are astral, and but there's a whole ritual in doing it, so I never feel scared or unsafe. I've been doing it for so long that I enjoy it,
So you go into it with the heart of a child and curiosity. That's good. That's really good.
Yeah. Well, and you go with a guide, so you're not in that realm by yourself. So you trust your guide, and you're going there for a purpose. So I talked about it before. So anyway, I would like to share my out-of-body experiences.
Okay.
So when you first started doing the show, and it's been 2 years now?
Yep, 2 years. Pretty close to it.
Yeah. So what really attracted me to keep listening was because you were so open about things that had happened to you, especially like panic attacks and things like that. And I was like, whoa, this guy's sharing that? It was like, you know, I'm older than you, and, you know, my generation guys, oh my God, they would never do that. So it was like, they're more macho, you know. So it was like, wow, this is cool. This guy's sharing that stuff. That's pretty neat. So that was one of the reasons why I kept listening. It was like, wow, finally guys opening up to, you know, more of the deeper, darker emotional things that had happened to him. So you used to, you know, talk about the panic attacks. So I actually had them in the 90s. Was yours in the 90s?
No, I had panic attacks like when I turned 20. So I would say it was around 2002.
Okay, so mine was the decade before yours. Mine was like 94. It started, I had this dream that I was driving down the freeways, and I got in this really bad wreck and ended up in the hospital, and I woke up in the hospital. That was my dream. So I used to like to drive, take trips, you know, on Fridays, long trips, like 2-hour trips on the highway and stuff. I can't even believe I used to do that, you know, looking back now. But it was fun. I enjoyed it, and go visiting people and stuff. So one time I'm coming back, and it was like 6 lanes of traffic, really heavy, thick traffic, you know. But I was used to that. It was at night. And all of a sudden, I got flashes of that dream while I'm driving. And I'm like, oh, my God, this is the dream. And I'm like, that's not going to happen to me. I'm not going to let that happen to me, you know. And I just tried to calm myself down, but I also would tell myself, you can't drive. You got to get off the freeway, you know. But it was so thick, and it was an area I didn't want to get. It was not a good area. So I was like, nope, you got to stay on so you can get safe. So finally I got to an area that was safe, and I pulled off. It was like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. And I slept in my car in a fast food parking lot. And I slept in my car till like 3 a.m. till I knew that the freeway was be completely empty, right?
Right.
And then I drove the rest of the way home. So after that, for the next probably 4 or 5 years, I had panic attacks. And I didn't know what they were. And I didn't know when they would come. I didn't know what triggered them. Looking back, I think maybe it was because I was going through a lot of stress in my life and working really hard, and also with learning a lot of spiritual stuff and learning about the dark night of soul. And so I, you know, always wonder if those were the reasons why I went through, or with becoming awoke, as they say now. Could have been all those things. I don't know. But this lasts for like 4 or 5 years. This is a long time. How many years did yours last?
Mine lasted a couple of years, actually. It took a while for me to get over it. Yeah.
2 years. Okay, so mine was longer. So this happened in 1994, and it's kind of interesting because I think it happened around October. So that was the year of that big California earthquake. What's the name of it? I forgot the name of it. Anyways, yeah, I was living alone. I was up in this 2-story apartment that was it faced the ocean, so I had a full-on ocean view. And I woke up and because it was 2-story, it swayed, and so I woke up and the whole thing swaying back and forth, and I'm looking at the ocean. I'm like, oh my God, you know, thinking I'm on a boat or something. But I mean, that was hard on your psyche, right? To experience something like that by yourself. So I always wonder if that was like the precursor of an omen or something for this to happen, because then later this panic thing happened. Okay, so fast forward. So then I didn't know when these things would happen. I would feel this. But sometimes it would happen when I was driving. And the things that were happening, and I experienced this several times, and then I had to figure out how to deal with it and make it stop, or just deal with it. But I would be driving sometimes, and I actually was out of my body, like up above my body. I could feel like my legs and everything still driving the car and stuff, but my whole consciousness was up out of the body.
While you were driving?
And I had heard of this man. He was like a really master type guy, and he would talk about how he could get out while he was driving. He used to drive all over the United States. He could get up out of his body, and he could look in a 360-degree if there was any traffic or there was any problems ahead of him, so that he would never, get in a wreck or anything. He could do that. I always thought, wow, that was amazing. But for me, I did get out, but I couldn't get completely out of my car so I could see like that. But I definitely was up above.
How the hell did you keep it on the road?
Well, that's what I mean. It was weird because I could feel my body and everything, and it was still, my body was still reacting to the way you're supposed to when you're driving. But I could definitely, it's kind of like a dream when you're looking down. You've had that experience, right? You're looking down at your body. Yeah, so I'm like, what is that? And then I was like, oh my God, this, so then it was like, that must be part of the panic attack. So then I kept reading self-help books. I was going through years of buying self-help books and spiritual books and all kinds of stuff. I guess maybe that's part of being awoke or something. You want to read whatever you can get. And I tried one of the things that helped with the breathing of the eight breaths thing, where you breathe in 8 times, hold it 8 times, breathe out 8 times, hold it, And I used to do that, and that really, really helped because it grounded you.
Mm-hmm.
They do like breathing techniques and stuff like that. So yeah, those were my out-of-body experiences. Sometimes they didn't happen when I was driving. Sometimes it would happen just for no reason at all. And it was the same thing where I would be completely up out of my body, kind of like looking at my body. The etheric body, or your astral body, was disconnected from the physical body. And then I'd read what the dark night of the soul was. And yeah, I still would like to know more about that from people that really understand that in the future, because it was like I was trying to reconcile my psychology at the same time being in the physical world.
The biggest thing about that whole thing, other than the confusion and trying to figure out what's going on, is that you were driving, right? Which tells me that the body, like, you can literally have an out-of-body experience while you're driving. And I'm not talking about just not paying attention to the road and daydreaming. I'm talking about having an out-of-body experience, which, something that used to happen to me that really freaks me out. And it's one of those things I've never talked about because I don't want to figure out I got some type of crazy health condition. But now that I've looked it up, I found out that it happens to a lot of people. Is I used to get very hot. And when I mean, like, it's kind of like a hot flash, but it goes throughout your whole body, almost like you're sitting in a fire and you become disconnected and then you come back. It's really weird. I don't know if anybody's ever had that happen, but it feels very warm. It's like you can get a hot flash and you feel it in your face, but this was really hot and it came throughout my whole body. And it would only happen when I would go between states of consciousness. Like I would feel my arms, start to fall asleep, like go numb from, going to sleep, body paralysis. And then you'd feel that heat. And I'm like, what the hell is that? And then I would freak out and wake back up. But I think I was transitioning back then and just didn't know it.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting, to feel the heat when you're coming back into the body. I think sometimes the full body heat thing, like a hot flash, is also, it could be the Kundalini being activated. They always talk about the Kundalini, and I've had that happen to me before. I used to go to these bhajan music things, where you dance and spin, and I definitely know what the Kundalini spinning and all that, and getting out of your head and all that stuff. But they don't talk about your whole body getting hot, but that could be the Kundalini being activated. You don't even know why, it just does.
Yeah, it's crazy. I used to skip away from work on lunch break. I had an hour lunch break, and I found a park near the Verizon Tower that I would drive to and just face the park, and I would sit in my car. And at that time, I was listening to things like Journeys Out of the Body and other stuff like that on audiobook, and I would lean back and just really get into the story. And I would kind of slip in and out. And as I would slip in and out, I would feel like this tremendous amount of heat from my toes to my head, just like you would if you got in, you know how it feels when you get close to a fire, right? That's what it felt like. And then I would come back. I never really knew what that was, but it doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, it could have been part of your awakening, too. Also, when I was going through the panic attack things, I would have these deep philosophical thoughts of wondering, like we normally talk on these shows, but I was just thinking them in my head. Did you have those when you were having panic attacks?
Hell yeah. I thought about it. Like, what triggered me having panic attacks, honestly, as I would think about death. But death, when you think about death, you tend to think about, philosophical things, life and death and what's after death and things like that. And what happens is you start to dwell on them. And when you start to dwell on them, that's when the anxiety kicks in. You'll forget to breathe. You'll forget to breathe normally. And so what you were talking about is actually a form of what's called pranayama, which they teach you in the earlier stages of a lot of mystery schools, like the fourfold breath. They start you out with the fourfold breath, which is counting to 4, holding for 4 and letting go for 4. And you just keep doing that until you learn the power of it. And then you start practicing different forms of it, which gets your body in altered states of consciousness, but it also relaxes you. But when you have a panic attack, you're not breathing right. So a whole bunch of triggers happen. Right. And then the next thing you know, I can't breathe, or I'm having chest pains, or my arm's numb, or some people get paralyzed and they actually wet themselves. It's insane what happens. And you don't know what's happening. And then if it's bad enough, if it really gets bad enough, then later on you start to have panic attacks thinking you're going to have another panic attack. And now you're in some type of psychosis where the crap never ends. And then that takes a little bit to get out of. It's a nightmare. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. And I really mean that.
No, it's rough because, anything can really trigger it. You just don't know. Another good breathing one that a yogi master taught me, this was years later, but it's the one where you take your finger, you should use your index finger, I think, or your middle finger, and you push on one nostril and you breathe in, and then you push. Let me see if I'm doing it myself. Okay, no, it's your thumb and your middle finger. So you breathe in on one of the nostrils, but you close the other nostril with your thumb. Okay, breathe in, and then you take your middle finger and close the other nostril that you just breathed in, and then blow out through the opposite.
Yeah. That's like advanced pranayama.
And he said that actually activates the separate parts of your brains and put oxygen. He said it can take away headaches and stuff, but it's a really activator. I wish I'd known that one when I was having the panic attacks, because that is a powerful one. I always forget to do that. It's an excellent one. Maybe that could help people with paralysis if they did that before they went to sleep. Make sure their brain has got plenty of oxygen.
Yeah, that is a question I get from a lot of people. I wish I can help with more. I got a text in from a listener that says, I'm from the Seattle area, and I would very much like to have a discussion about, or my point of view regarding some subjective experiences with sleep paralysis. And see, what I learned with sleep paralysis, or when the body becomes paralyzed, no matter what you're doing, it used to scare the hell out of me. But as I started learning, astral travel and the out-of-body experience, when I get sleep paralysis, I get excited because I know what's about to happen. I know I'm about to get that humming and vibrating state afterwards, and then I can literally lift out of my body, which was what some people call an etherical projection. So when you hear people talk about, well, I don't know if I was dreaming or this or that, then they didn't have that. I hope she calls back. That sucks. We lost our connection. We lost our stream. Maybe, Eric says, quick, get out and wind the studio back up. Well, I'm trying, brother, but, I did have, boy, I really hope that that's not what's going on. I did have somebody threaten to, what do you call it? What do they call it where they tap into your router or whatever? I hope you can call back, Kat. Can you, if you guys can hear me, let me know. Or I might just call her back. The good news is everything's cool. We didn't have a total blowout, but that happens sometimes when you're doing digital radio. The whole damn thing goes down because we're talking about, I ain't gonna lie. I'd like to think it was something extraterrestrial that caused it, but probably it was more that it was just a stupid glitch. Let me make sure that you cats can hear me first because I'm not getting any feedback here. Okay, yeah, you can hear me. All right, so we're going to take a break, and I'll see if I can get, yeah, you had a glitch at the beginning of the show. I did, okay. Well, we're going to take a break, and we're going to try to get Kat back on the phone. We'll be right back. I'm Joe Roop. This is Lighting the Void. Stay with us.
She makes my hair bristle. You know what I mean, huh?
This portion of the show is being brought to you by... never mind.
The truth is out there.
There's something out here.
And so are we. KTLK Digital Broadcasting, The Fringe FM.
This is Elle. I listen to Lighting the Void because it's interactive radio with good content, interesting guests, and a humble host, sharing his journey through the esoteric. Hey, Joe Roop. Thanks for having us along for the ride.
Thank you so much for a delightful evening.
Well, I got a lot of ground to cover.
Alright everyone, this is Justin from the UK. Excuse the chitty. If you're into the Fringe and you want to hear the brass tacks, my old china plate, Joe Roop and his guests on Lighting the Void will open your mince pies. You need to shut your north and south and use your 10-speed gears and listen to them bubble. You could hear a Barry Crocker, no Brussels, but he ain't no holy friar. Anyway, you be the Barnaby Rudge and take a butcher's.
You're listening to Lighting the Void Radio.
Who were the real ancient Egyptians? What is it about ancient Egypt that captivates us all? The critically acclaimed series Magical Egypt is back with all new episodes. Let Chance Gardner and company take you on another adventure through Magical Egypt in the new series Magical Egypt 2. Magical Egypt 2 attempts a forensic reconstruction of the science of the ancients through a study of ancient aesthetics. Also, the best researchers and authors in the field like John Anthony West, Graham Hancock, Laird Scranton, Robert Bouval, Lon Duquette, Aaron Cheek, and more join together to explore the topics of the esoteric and the hidden messages of the ancient Egyptians. Just go to magicalegypt.com right now and put in the code word FRINGE and get 10% off any download or order, including the groundbreaking original Magical Egypt series, as well as the new episodes in Magical Egypt 2. Also, check out the great work and the companion series at magicalegypt.com. Click the banner on the Fringe FM or go to magicalegypt.com and use the code word FRINGE and get 10% off your order today while it lasts.
Alright everyone, this is Justin from the UK. Excuse the chitty. If you're into the Fringe and you want to hear the brass tacks, my old china plate, Joe Roop and his guests on Lighting the Void will open your mince pies. You need to shut your north and south and use your 10-speed gears and listen to them bubble. You could hear a Barry Crocker, no Brussels, but he ain't no holy friar. Anyway, you be the Barnaby Rudge and take a butcher's.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Hello, this is Vance Nesbitt. Take the time to expand your mind by listening to Lighting the Void with Joe Roop right here on The Fringe FM.
Follow The Fringe FM on Facebook and Twitter at The Fringe FM.
Lighting the Void is proud to announce Mind and Magic's Protection and Defense Course for protection from magical and psychic attacks. This is not a joke. Magic practitioners are on the rise, and with that comes attacks from baneful or black magicians that try to harm or hurt others for their own selfish reasons. If you are not a believer in psychic attacks, then this isn't for you. If you are, and you want the power to defend yourself and your family and home, then I highly suggest you grab Freighter Xavier's Protection and Defense Course. In this course, you will learn how to tell if you are under attack from a natural source or if an individual is attacking you. The 4 forms of curses and attacks. How to remove self-imposed curses. The correct way to cleanse your home from negativity or malevolent entities. How to make your own holy water. What you should always keep near or under your bed. Herbs that banish negativity and promote purity. The most powerful banishing rituals on the planet. And for those that seem to want to harm you the most, how to put your enemies in a hell pit of their own making. You can also learn protection against shadow people and other entities. Or are you just in a bad planetary alignment? Even how to get rid of an enemy using a tic-tac box. It does not matter what your faith or belief is, this will work. Click the banner on the website at lightingthevoid.com or go to lightingthevoid.com/Xavier.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're experiencing technical difficulties. Please do not adjust your radio. This station is experiencing technical difficulties. Please stand by.
You call that music?
Well, I'd like to be one of those really cool hosts and say, man, I wonder what that was. Man, it was one of those aliens where they must be listening to us or it must be whatever, man. I don't know, but we're back now. You know, act like we got everything under control because that's key. You know, I actually took a class on that, Catalina, once that in broadcasting class where they like, if you have technical difficulties, make sure that you just pretend that everything's cool and you got it all under control. So everything's cool. Exactly. We all got it under control. But
exactly.
that is weird. Maybe it's that moon you're talking about, right?
Of course, though, Art sometimes, he was cool by acting like he didn't always have it under control. That's because it was like, oh, maybe something unusual is happening, you know. He kind of played with it that way, too, though. That was kind of ingenious. Do you remember when he used to do stuff like
Oh,
that?
yeah.
Like, oh, no, what's going on?
Be honest with you, I spend most of my late nights listening to Art Bell classics as I fall asleep. I have a confession to make, so... I know some of you think that I'm sitting back listening to my own show and my own voice, but not really. I listen to his. I miss him.
That's the master guru teacher.
So how long did you talk before you realized nobody was there?
Gosh, I don't know. It must have been at least 45 seconds, I would think.
Yeah, well,
it wasn't a minute.
The one thing that I remember, though, while I was frantically trying to get the stream back up was that, you know, back when I had those panic attacks and before I started ever astral traveling, I had this dream. And, you know, we talk about the moon quite a bit. It was one of those really vivid dreams of a moon, a full moon, kind of like tonight, sitting in the sky, in the eastern sky, and I was at a bar or whatever, and I was shooting pool, and I don't really know who was there, and we all kind of looked up at the moon. And as we all looked up at the moon, everybody got still. You know how that happens in a dream where everything just freezes and nobody can move?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so whatever's going on, everybody's frozen. And this other moon rises next to that moon, and the previous moon, if you can imagine this, starts falling as if it's crashing to the earth. And I had this fear come through me, and my heart started just beating really, really fast, and I woke up. Now, I went to one of these gurus or whatever, and they said that was a transition stage, like a dasha or whatever, a stage of consciousness transition. And the moon represents my consciousness shift, which is kind of funny because I changed my whole life back then. Everything I was doing, I didn't care about none of this stuff, paranormal, astral travel. But after that dream, everything kind of did shift for me. So it is a little weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I started being much more conscious and feeling things. I mean, when I was younger, I tried mushrooms and stuff like that, and that's where you could almost like feel the earth breathing. You heard people when they took stuff like that. You could feel things so anyways, after the panic attacks, life was much more like that, where I was really sensitive to the dimensions that are beyond the third dimension. So I don't even need to take psychedelics because I can just feel. Well, and then the meditation that I get in, it puts you in a different realm, as Buddhist monks call it. They have a whole different lingo than the paranormal. But yeah, because then you can feel and sense, and you're more alert. You can tell when people, almost what states of consciousness people are in, once you learn to still your mind and get, into that more pure state realm that the monks talk about. Oh, did you hear me when I was telling you about the seven spaces of the mind?
I don't. If you were talking about it when the stream went down, then no, I didn't. I'm so sorry.
Okay, that was what I was sharing. As the type of meditation I do is called, you put your mind at the seventh base of your mind, which is 2 inches above your navel, which is also like the chi area where people do martial arts. It's that middle part.
Mm-hmm.
So this type of meditation, that's where they teach. When you still your mind, you close your eyes, and then you try to just clear your brain out. You'll see your thoughts and stuff, but you just don't act on them until you'll have a few seconds where you're not thinking. Then you keep doing it. You'll have 5 minutes. I can go up to now. I mean, and meditate in the class for 40 minutes, but I'll have probably like 10 minutes where I'm not thinking at all, and that's really good. That's hard to get to that point. It took me years to get to that point. But anyway, that's that center part. Then you learn, once you master that, you learn how to put your mind there during your waking consciousness, so that no matter what happens going on in your day, you know that you can be balanced. You have that balance point. And then once you are in the eye of the storm, so to speak, you can see things more for what they really are. Instead of getting, most people, like, they just get caught into it like a storm, right? And then they react. So that's a different type of state of consciousness.
Well, I before we went to break, I did say that I was going to talk about the sexual energy, the barrier that people reach, which is something that Amalia's show, Love, Sex, and the Hidden Agenda, talks about quite a bit.
Oh, right.
But
yeah.
it happens to the point to where even Robert Monroe talked about that he had at first, and this is really weird, because the way these entities, or whatever the hell they are, they have intercourse with you in the astral realm is it's not the same as the physical realm. It's almost like just an energetic exchange. It's crazy. But the thing is that there's that barrier. So once you start traveling a lot, you're going to run into this barrier, and it's, other than the fear barrier, it's one of the biggest to get past. And I still have not learned the trick that Robert Monroe talks about, how what he would do was tell his mind, and I know this sounds really bad, but he would tell his mind that he would just take care of it later, and that would allow him to pass through it. And so what I'm trying to talk about tonight is some of the things that people are going to run into, right? And obviously, I mean, hearing your story about leaving the body as you're driving, I don't know all of the states that you went, but I can imagine that you were just trying to get back into your body the whole time.
Right. Yeah, that's when I started to really try to learn how to do that, because I wasn't practicing the type of meditation I was doing now. So the breathing was what I did. You know,
did you ever have another
really helped.
Ethereal projection like that where you could actually see your body?
Yeah, once I learned shamanic journeys, 2005, I learned that up in Mount Shasta. I did a workshop from a teacher as a group for 3 days. Yeah, when you do shamanic journeys, you can see your body. You know, but I don't stay and look at it because I'm off doing what I want to do. But you can if you want to. You know, I mean, once you master stuff, you know, you want to. Why would you want to? You know, why would you want to look at your body?
I don't know. I think it's cool just to turn around and see what I look like sleeping, you know, because it's one of those things that you never get to see unless somebody takes a picture of it. Right.
Right.
But the fear barrier is something that I'm trying to get people past, because people are dealing with a lot of what people are dealing with more than, and this is something I was talking about before the stream went down, and hopefully it'll stay up this time, is sleep paralysis. And I was trying to get people to the key during that is to stay calm and really tell yourself that only a few things are going to happen. You're either going to wake up, you're going to have an out-of-body experience, or you're going to fall asleep. Okay? So as horrifying as it is, the more it's kind of like swimming, right? If you go out and you start struggling and fighting and kicking and screaming, you're going to drown, and therefore you're just going to have a bad experience. It's going to be horrifying. But if you just relax and go with the flow, no matter what's going on around you, if for Travis that sent me that text, this is my philosophy on it: relax, go with the flow, and let things happen. Even if horrifying things are happening around you, which I would say if you have a lot of sleep paralysis, then, you know, learn some psychic protection or some type of protection that you can actually believe in and do it before you go to sleep. That's my theory on that.
Yeah. There's two things that you can do in this meditation I do, but I would think it could help in that situation is you can use two different things. You can use a visual, you know, to still your mind, or you can use an audio, you know, and the stillness one, like we visualize like a bright light. It could be a star, a moon, a flower, an object, you know, preferably one that's nice and pretty and makes you feel good, you know. So if you're distilling, you know, paralysis, I would think, you know, get your visual, just look at that visual. You know, your little safe place, or it could be an audio, which is a mantra. Whatever is good to you. You know, the one these Buddhist monks do, an ancient Pali word that's sama arahang, means the perfect path to enlightenment, purity. They've been doing that for hundreds of years. Sama arahang, sama arahang, sama arahang. So that's another thing. If you get into a ritual doing something like that, I would hope that if you're in that state of paralysis, that you know, your subconscious can tell it, oh, look, I got to have my visual. You know, I've had Archangel Michael, my protector, most of my life. So I've encountered demons and stuff in dreams, and, you know, I'll say, Archangel Michael, get in there. Get him out of here.
So you call upon Archangel Michael, right? That tends to work for you?
I've done that many times, yes. Yeah, and I've used that on my outer life when I've come across scary situations too. You know, say, you know, go after that. like command. People don't know how to command, because we've been so mind-controlled and programmed and everything that we don't know how to use command. I took a class once called Fohat. You ever heard of that word, Fohat? That's what Jesus used, supposedly, every time he did a miracle. He used Fohat, F-O-H-A-T.
Mm-hmm.
It's the way that he used his voice. It's down. It's almost like a singer. You get it down and deep in your diaphragm, and so it's with force, with power, with full intent. Fohat. Whoa. So you command. So if things happen or in your dream or something, you have to have that command part of that. You're this spiritual, immortal star being. You don't have to be scared because you're part of the cosmos. You're part of the galaxies. Just as powerful as anybody else. So you just use that, and just.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you got your message across. I'm sorry about the hang up, but thank you so much for calling into the show. I really, really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I'm sorry that
right,
we got disconnected. You have a good night too, Kat.
It happened.
Right,
okay, bye-bye.
Gotta love Catalina stories. Some of the best phone calls that have ever happened on the show. So just to recap real quick, we talked about the barriers that are going to happen, all right? So the number one barrier is sleep paralysis. Please just learn to relax and get through that, and you'll start feeling the vibration state and all this stuff. Now, since we didn't get to everything, since we had the shutdown, I'm going to go through this real quick, okay? You're going to run into tricksters, okay? And let me go through the list here, and I'll tell you what to do about all of it. Tricksters, visuals, colors, people that are just traveling, entities you can't even see, but you can hear their voice, the sexual barrier that we talked about, feelings that come up that you probably can't explain, and also people that have passed away that are kind of trapped. Once you become a really good traveler, these are the types of things you're going to run into. But the biggest thing is what I wanted to get across tonight was that the message of fear. So we hear a lot of shows about secret societies and all this other stuff, but here's the ironic thing, and Mr. Madman Markham can attest to this. When you really start studying the secret societies, and they're still prevalent today, when someone says, well, the Masons and the Rosicrucians, they wanted me to recruit them. No, they didn't. Not real ones. Real Masons and real Rosicrucians don't come up to you and recruit you. Now, they may have videos online and stuff and tell you where their website is, but they don't recruit. Their whole thing is if you are a free person that wants to know the truth, that you come a-knocking. And that's how it's really done. So nobody gets recruited. And if somebody tried to recruit you into a Masonic temple or a Rosicrucian temple, then I can almost bet you, when I say recruit, mean they really did the military style of recruitment, I can almost bet you it's clandestine. Now, my point is that all of these things are taught in the mystery schools. They teach you your own power, which you really don't have to go into today, but I find it, because you can read about it, right? But I find it's funny, for the past 40 years, we've been getting the message that our focus needs to be on the mystery schools and that there's some type of secret society that is trying to take over the world, when in fact, and this is just my theory, and it may change as other things have changed as I've went on through the show. When JFK was talking about secret societies and secret things, he was talking about secret establishments within the government, such as the Council for National Policy and people that are trying to move things militarily and drugs and all this other stuff, the CIA and things like that, without telling him or making him involved because there was an alternate agenda going on. The reason why you're afraid of these things is because of the word secret. But the truth is, there is no secret to any of this stuff. You can go there and learn it yourself, or you can get online and learn, well, pretty much all of it, most of it. There are some things like alchemy and things like that that are verbally passed down. And you just make your own judgments from there. I'm not saying this as an outsider looking in. I'm saying this as somebody that's actually been inside these temples. Okay? There's nothing to be afraid of with these folks. However, I will say that the theosophists and the whole banking system kind of thing, that I don't know much about, and there is some kind of freaky stuff going on there, but I don't think Helena Blavatsky was really an evil person. I think maybe some other stuff happened. But what my whole point is isn't it kind of funny that you've been taught all of these things, these fear-based stories of conspiracy? Meanwhile, what's really going on in the military is they've been experimenting with it since the 70s. The Soviets were studying out-of-body phenomena and yogis, but there's really no details of the research that were given. But we do know in 73, the U.S. newspaper National Enquirer reported that the Soviets had accomplished astral projection in the laboratory and cited the opinion of a U.S. researcher. This is the Enquirer, by the way, so take it with however you want it. That the technique would be in use for espionage before the end of the 1970s. That's 2018 right now. There's no details of any of the work or anything that they did. They just talked about it. The DIA concluded in 1972 that this tactic and other related abilities were used by the Soviets to discover the contents of top-secret U.S. documents, the movements of their troops and ships, and the location of their military installations. Now, this is pretty cool because after the U.S. government declassified the Stargate program, they revealed that this is exactly what they were doing, what the U.S. was doing to the Russians. Another document, hope my stream doesn't go down again, but another document goes on to emphasize that the Russians, or they, could also be using these techniques to influence key U.S. military personnel and other leaders from a distance. They even went on to say that they could cause instant death of any U.S. official from a distance and or disable U.S. military equipment from a distance, including spacecrafts. And this is all in this magazine. Now, it's pretty safe to assume that the military was also using these tactics for similar purposes. When I say that, our military, the U.S., but who knows? I mean, we really don't know how far the study comes. All we know is they were studying it back in the 70s. And if you went to the UFO Seekers website and you've seen that when they're actually studying something, then that means they've probably been doing it for a while. So where are they now with astral travel? What types of influences are they doing on your mind? Now, not out here with just showing you these symbols and all the stuff. I'm talking about in the internal realms. Now, based on my research into these conspiracy stuff, it's not really a big surprise, and other people have researched this too, and they would say the same thing. But mainly what I've learned from about astral travel has been from Thomas Campbell, Robert Monroe, and William Buellman. But it was Robert Monroe that got me wondering about the military stuff, because at the end of his book, he talked about that. What does the government really know? If I know how to do this, then who else knows how to do it? And if they do, how are they influencing us in these realms? And that, my friends, I feel like is the real cabal conspiracy and all this other stuff that's going on. And if you read the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, not the Emerald Tablet, but the 12 Emerald Tablets of Thoth, he also talks about kind of like wars and things that get called from below in the astral realm and stuff like that. So if they keep our mind focused on a dark cabal or these other things, they can actually do these astral experiments and we'll never know it. We'll just blame it on some cabal or CIA reptilian or something, right? So if you want to know what I'm talking about, go back to the beginning of the program when we talked about agendas and why certain messages are being told to you. And this will prep you for your astral journey. And so that when you meet these entities and you do your own experiments, you can come up with your own conclusions about the truth of this realm. This doesn't mean we're not going to continue to talk about the astral realm, but we are going to go into things that are attached to it. For instance, like tomorrow night, there is an experience called, the CE5 experience, which is Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. And we are going to talk about the Ponti, and it's kind of all the rage right now. Sue Walker and Reverend White Otter have been talking to these Ponti or aliens, and they have a book out called Inviting ET, which I have as well, and are teaching you how to do this, and that there's nothing to be afraid of at all, and that once you open these doors and tap into your astral power, so to speak, there's other people that you can talk to. So that's what we're going to discuss tomorrow night. Very fascinating subject. I want to thank Catalina for calling in. Thank you guys for your patience, even though the stream got interrupted. and all of you guys that have joined us in the Spreaker chat and the few that are in the Discord chat. As far as the big moon and astrological stuff goes, we can keep up with each other. You'll find us in the Discord chat. That is at thefringe.fm/chat. That's a place where we all kind of hang out and share links and do stuff throughout the day. But I also have to say, before we get out of here, that this show was produced by The Fringe FM and cannot be syndicated without written permission. And music was by Chronox, Bundy, Space Station, and Kevin MacLeod. Old music from the public domain. And if you're listening live on the network, make sure you stay tuned for The Secret Teachings with Ryan Gable coming up next. We will see you guys tomorrow night with Sue Walker and Reverend Rydaughter. Good night.
Talk fast. You sound like my lawyer, who's 78.
The views and opinions expressed on this program do not necessarily reflect those of the Fringe FM, KTLK Digital Broadcasting, its sponsors, affiliates, or staff. Listener discretion is advised. We told you weeknights on the Fringe FM are now even better. And we mean it.
Do it live!
Where else can you hear the best shows and the best talent? Kick off your evening with our newest host, Alex Exum, live at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 Eastern. Hang out with me, Joe Roop, on Lighting the Void at 9 Pacific, midnight Eastern. Ryan Gable expands your mind on the Secret Teachings at midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern. We're bringing the heat every single night. Fire it up, The Fringe FM.
Yahoy there. This is Gigi from Shift Happens. And holy shit, you're listening to KTLK, The Fringe FM. Hey, don't you dare turn that stand. It sounds funny, but it's